our September Bloomington Human Relations Commission meeting. So welcome, commissioners, to our September meeting. Can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. Okay. We will get going. All righty. So we will do the call to order, roll call of attendees. Commissioner Kunan,
Present.
Commissioner Suresh Krishna, Commissioner Gary McGinnis,
Present.
Commissioner Anthony Jones, Commissioner, I'm sorry, was that a, Mr. Hurd, did you say something? Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Ajay,
Present.
and Mr. Hurt is
Michael himself.
present.
Here, I'll send mine.
Do we have comments from some?
Take it easy.
Maybe not. Okay. I'm hearing things, so, okay. We will move on the agenda to item number 2, public comment section. Do we have anyone present for the public comment?
As far as I know, no one signed up for a public comment.
Okay,
I
Okay.
point out, Madam Chair, that Commissioner Jones has joined us, and I see Nicole Albertson and City Clerk and City Hall Conference Room are also showing on this call. I'm not sure who's sitting at those microphones.
yeah, I saw that Nicole Eberson is connected to the meeting. And the city clerk is hosting the meeting. Is that correct, Mr. Hurt?
Yeah, in the City Hall Conference Room, yes.
Yes, okay. That's what I was assuming. Commissioner Jones
Commissioner
is
Chair, or Commissioner Chair,
present.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Hi,
Just a
yeah, I
second.
am here.
Okay.
I let Mr. Hurt know I'd be just listening in, but I do have to drop off at about 5:45.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Okay. Welcome, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jones, are you present?
He's muted.
I'm unmuted now, I think. Can you hear me?
Okay, all right. Okay, so we have your presence accounted for. Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Okay, so we will move on. No one's available for public comment. Item number 3, approval of minutes from August. And thank you, Commissioner Jones, for leading that meeting on my behalf.
You're welcome.
Did everyone have time to review the meeting minutes from August?
Yes.
Any updates? Or can I get a motion for approval as documented?
Point of correction, Madam Chair, it's the Wednesday, July 8th meeting minutes, not August. Is that correct? Or am I looking at the wrong document?
Yeah, these should be,
They, go ahead, Mr. Hurt.
yeah, it should be the agenda from July. Let's see.
Because in August, we had the training.
Right.
August, we had the training. That's right. So it's July's meeting minutes. In August, we did not have an official meeting.
I'd like to move we accept the minutes as presented.
Second it.
Okay, so it's been properly moved by Commissioner Ajay that we accept the July meeting minutes as presented, and second by Commissioner McGinnis. I will call for the vote. Commissioner Konam,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Ajay,
Aye.
Commissioner McGinnis,
Aye.
and Commissioner Smith. Aye. Mr. Hurt, we have a quorum. The minutes are approved as presented. We will go to agenda items number 4A, divest, invest, discussion, debriefing.
Madam Chair, may I start this session out?
Yes.
I received several emails and a couple of phone calls regarding the night's events, and they were all quite favorable.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I would really like to thank all the commissioners present, especially the yeoman's job done by Commissioner Jones that night, being our technical person. There were some significant challenges, but he rose to the occasion.
I would like to echo that. He did a magnificent job. I appreciate him being on site to get the technology set up to host that Zoom call for us. So thank you, Commissioner Jones.
You're very welcome. That type of stuff is fun for me, so it was my pleasure.
And I do appreciate all other commissioners who were present on site that night. Sincere appreciation to Mr. Hurt for taking lead and getting this event set up and coordinated. That was the foundation of it, and he ran with it successfully. So kudos to you, Mr. Hurt, for all that you did to get this in place so that we could have a forum for the community members to come together, social distancing, to share their thoughts around this topic. So I think Commissioner McGinnis, you were present as well.
Yes.
Thank you for being on site to support the event. I was online listening to the event and thought that the discussions were healthy and it was a rich dialogue taking place and executed very well. If I missed anyone, please speak up if you were engaged.
Commissioner
Yes, I
Jai was
was
there.
there.
Oh yeah, Commissioner. Yes, you were. I'm sorry, Commissioner Jai, you were on site. Thank you as well for being there.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yes.
I would like to get a written finding from whomever these findings come from that commissioners should not speak at such events for fear of conflict of interest. It's beyond me how speaking at a public forum, albeit organized by this commission, could be construed as a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So I would like to get clarification on that point before we we're going to discuss item 4B, a second session. If and hopefully when we have such a session, I hope that commissioners will be able to ask questions of the panelists at the very least, if not be members of the panel themselves. Regarding the panelists, I would echo all of the kudos given to all participants earlier. I was sorely disappointed that our elected officials declined to participate. I saw no one from the mayor's office, either in Bloomington or in Normal. I don't think I saw Patrick Lawler, who is running for office, but other than him, I don't think I saw any elected official in the space to lend their voices to what I consider to be a very critical matter for our community to discuss. So if we do decide to move forward with another session, I hope that we can expect, or we can tease more participation from our elected officials. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on the discussion of the commissioners not being actively or verbal during the forum, Mr. Hurt, is that to not, was that decision made so that the commission could have an unbiased position within this conversation?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. There was a lot of conversation between the clerk's office and legal to come up with that determination. I will get that for you, Commissioner Ajay. If that is committed to writing or whatever the rationale was, I'll make sure you get that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Was this a last minute decision?
Was what a
There-
last minute decision?
The fact that we couldn't ask questions?
Yeah, there was a flurry of information going back and forth the day before. Because remember, we didn't know that we had to present this as an open meeting. Since we weren't speaking, we weren't discussing any business. I simply listed it as a community event that was sponsored by that was being hosted by the Human Relations Commission. However, the day before our event, I was told by the clerk's office that my interpretation was wrong, so we had to list this as an open meeting. We had to post it, notify the public, and make space for the public to attend.
Okay.
While I understand and respect that position, we were in attendance, in my opinion, as members of the public, albeit also commissioners. The event had been announced to the public because we'd invited them to come. Now, again, it's not being billed as a meeting of this commission. It is a meeting at which the commissioners would be present as members of the public, hence my confusion. But I'm sure once we hear back from legal, let me rephrase that. I look forward to the response from legal, and I will draft my response accordingly.
I'll try to have that for you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional comments on that? Topic? Hearing none. So we will go into, was that the only comment that we had on the debriefing part of it? Or was there other?
Yeah, just the only comment that I'll make is just more of an observation. So far as considering that the topic focus is trying to address the treatment of Black males from the police, there weren't very many Black males in attendance. So that's in the future for events of that nature. I think a deliberate effort to at least make them more aware of it, so far as to encourage them to attend as well. But that's just an observation.
While I agree with the observation, I wouldn't agree with the characterization of the meeting as being as having an emphasis on the treatment of Black males by the police. The emphasis was on the funding of the police and whether that funding could be more equitably distributed. I do, however, agree that having more Black males in attendance is a laudable goal.
Right. And just to clarify what I was saying, it's just that because the overall topic of police brutality is a separate item. The basically the impact is mostly on Black males, so that's what I was speaking towards.
I was somewhat disappointed in the number of people that were at the meeting. I think we had around 22. Was that right, Michael?
Correct.
We had seats for 50. I would have expected a whole lot more people to attend. I don't understand why we didn't get better attendance.
People in person or people attending
Attending,
online?
attending
So
the meeting. I thought
does that
the panel
include,
was excellent. We got a lot of different viewpoints, but I expected really at least 40 or 50 people there.
are you saying in person, Commissioner McGinnis?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I guess from my perspective, I did not think that a large number of people would come out, considering that there's still a large fear of contracting COVID. So in my opinion, I would have thought that they would have opted to do online. I know that there are those who still think that perhaps COVID doesn't even exist at all. And then there are those who feel that it's just a minor case of the flu. So just depends on where you stand, which viewpoint you have. So,
But I don't think we had a large number online, did we, Michael?
Commissioner Jones had monitored that.
Yeah, and I would have to go back to the because it was recorded. And I was so busy with the camera and everything, I didn't really. But I can find out that information for you, Gary. But also, I wanted to mention that I can provide some insight to you so far as the physical or the on-site attendance. We kind of had a two-stage rollout of the event. Initially, we were planned to accommodate on-site only, and then due to interest, we made available the online. And many of those individuals that signed up to be there in person, when the online option became available, they chose to participate that way. So they abandoned what they had RSVP'd for. Yeah, but I'll also, tonight I'll go into the recording because it has the information on how many attended on it.
Commissioner Ajayi, I'm sorry. Can I clarify one thing with Commissioner Ajayi?
sure.
I will get the information for you as to why the commissioners were not allowed to speak during the presentation. But I'm hearing also that you do want the information about what type of meeting that we can hold where the commissioners are allowed to have input and have word in that meeting.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are two different issues, I know. We'll
Right.
find out why we weren't allowed to speak at this one, but then also what type of meeting are you allowed to speak at that we host?
Exactly, because if we're going to have a part 2 to this, I want to see if it would be possible for commissioners to speak at that one. So yes.
I got you.
Thank you.
That's all I had, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hurt. So I took some notes during the meeting. Again, I thought all of the panelists did a really great job. in articulating their perspective on divest, invest. My takeaway was that I didn't hear that either of the representatives from the police departments were embracing the thought of divesting funds from their departments. It would be a personnel impact to them to divest funds to other social services or other agencies. They were open to bringing all the agencies together to come up with a solution. The thought of having social workers come in to assist, in their opinion, was not a solution that they thought would help the community, because they felt that police officers would still be needed to help them carry out their duties. So again, it was a great discussion. The police departments were not overly open to embracing divesting any of their funds into another direction to help change the climate of the current environment. That's what I heard. So I did hear that I think 2 of the departments are utilizing body cameras. I think the sheriff department currently does not have any cameras that they utilize, and they talked a lot about cultural sensitivity training. Whether it was mandated or basically when time allows, is that when the training occurs? Things of that nature, and how to deal with stressors on the job. So I found that to be rather interesting. Anyone else before we move on?
I was struck by the 4-to-1 against structure of the panel. In other words, 4 of the speakers up there, from Ms. Foster from the NAACP all the way through the gentleman who worked as a social worker for the police force, with the 2 officers in between. Basically, they were all anti-divest, and the only one who was pro-divest was Ms. Butts from BLM. So it was interesting that it was almost as though the only pro-divest arguments were coming from Black Lives Matter, and all the others were anti. And it's fascinating that it almost felt to me as though the point of divest was completely missed, which is that you mentioned, Commissioner Smith, that one of the police responses was it would have an impact on personnel. Yes, that's exactly the point. You have personnel who are untrained, for example, to respond to mental health issues, and we would take the money, say there's 20% of the officers of the department's time is spent on responding to mental health issues. So the idea of divest is take 20% of the budget, and it's not necessarily a one-to-one correlation. I'm just using this as an example. Take that 20% of the budget, give it to the McLean County Mental Health Department, for example, reduce the department from 10 officers to 8, and Lord knows how many social workers you could hire with that 20% of the money. But the key point is that the community is better served by having specialists respond to mental health issues rather than armed officers. There was a story about a 15 or 16-year-old young man who was shot to death, or who was shot and injured by police responding to a mental health crisis. The young man had autism. And had mental health professionals been able to attend, the gentleman would probably not have been shot. So my point is that, yes, reduction in personnel is exactly what we're talking about. However, we're also talking about removing some responsibility as first responders from the police department. So you don't need those personnel necessarily. And for me, that point was lost. And that's all I'll say, because if I keep going, we'll be here until tomorrow with this discussion.
Yeah, so it was as if they had already arrived at the decision to not be open-minded to the divesting of funds before taking a seat as a panelist. So that was kind of obvious. The de-escalation training, to me, it was just very interesting about the type of training, when the officers take the training. All of that was not a high priority. It wasn't significant for the officers. I can tell you myself that I have been stopped by the sheriff's department 3 years ago. I think it was assumed that I was a male because I had on a ball cap and they couldn't see my hair. And the questions that were asked of me: where do you live? Where's that subdivision? Now, what does this have to do with a crime? Where do you live? Where's that subdivision? Where do you work? What's your job title? How long have you worked there? Where are you going? It was just random questions. And then at the end of this discussion, the comment was made to me: you are a rare stop. All because I was driving 55 in a 65 speed limit. Now, of course I wondered, how often do others get stopped like this? Because I was driving under the speed limit right here in McLean County. And I was a rare stop, is what the sheriff told me. So there are changes that need to be made. And we will move on to the next item on our agenda. So B, second session of divest, invest discussion. I am to assume that there was,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, Commissioner Ajay, that someone has proposed or brought a topic forth about having a second session of the divest, invest discussion as a forum.
It was something that I had requested be placed on the agenda, because
Okay.
I feel as though the first one didn't do the topic justice for reasons I've already mentioned, namely the absence of a number of decision makers in terms of elected officials. And
Okay.
secondly, I think the input from members of this commission would be valuable in the discussion. And that, hence my request for clarification from Mr. Hurt and from the city on the reasons for our inability to participate and what conditions would need to be satisfied if we were to participate. So that was my logic in putting it on the agenda. I think it would be a valuable experience.
Yeah,
Thoughts from other commissioners?
yeah, for everyone's awareness, I've read that the mayor had asked the police review group to put on a public discussion on the topic also. And I'm just wondering if anyone, or if we should find out what their plans are, particularly from a scheduling standpoint, and just from general awareness on what that group is doing, because that I was looking through my computer here, but I didn't locate it in a timely fashion. But I just wanted to bring that up for awareness, that I did read that he had made a request for that group to put together at least one community discussion on the topic.
Commissioner Jones, I do recall that. I read it online in the paragraph, but I don't remember if the police review board had responded or indicated a date when they would execute on that. Do you know, Mr. Hurt, anything, have any insight to that?
No, I sure don't.
I guess we could follow up to see when or if they were going to take action on that. Commissioners Kunan, McGinnis, your thoughts on this topic that Commissioner Jai has brought forth on, and especially Commissioner McGinnis, because you were present at the first one. Thoughts on hosting a second forum to with the goal of having a more substantial conversation around divest and invest funds within the community?
I would like to get some answers to some of these questions before we made that decision.
Answers to which questions?
Whether the police are going to hold one, and mainly, and whether we can ask questions, whether we can be part of the discussion or not.
So we know that the mayor has asked the police review board. Are you also saying that the police will host a forum too?
I really don't know. But I think one of the key questions is, can we get any of the city officials to be part of the discussion? Otherwise, it's going to turn out about the same. So will the mayor join us, or somebody from his group join us?
So Commissioner Jai, does your thought of hosting a second forum hinge on whether the mayor participates or not?
No, it doesn't. I think publicizing a second event with a specific call for government leaders to attend might have more impact. I'm not sure. I know Mr. Hurd sent out invitations to folks, and we all saw the draft letter. I think perhaps with the commissioner, the chair, and the vice chair making personal appeals to some of these individuals to attend, and doing some groundwork ahead of time to try to find a hole in the mayor's schedule and the commissioners, city commissioners' schedules, and the chief of police, if and when we get one, folks like that, to go around and try to get all of these players to commit to attending. And quite frankly, and also with community organizations, and I would hold it if they refuse to attend and publicize that fact.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and I had one more comment before we move on this topic, is so far as if there is a second edition of this, I think it also would be interesting to have at least one representative from social work or or similar agency, one of the groups in which we're talking of providing additional funding for, to be an alternative for responses for that police are now typically going to. It'd be interesting to hear some insights from the social work group.
We had invited individuals from the social work community, and they both pulled out after they agreed to be panelists.
Oh, okay. I wonder if that was due to conflict in schedule, or was there something else?
One was a conflict in schedule.
Okay.
One was a conflict in relationship with the police department.
Oh, so maybe again, that's some, if we do go forward, that's some conversation that we can have up front to get a better understanding if that would be a conflict with their relationship with the police, to iron all of that out, to be assured that they could participate. So, Mr. Hurt, I think you indicated that you would be able to get the answers to Commissioner Jai's question around the commissioners being able to participate in said forums moving forward. And if not, what are the types of forms we are able to actively verbally engage in,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Okay, so we could have that done before, very soon, and then know about making plans for a second form, as well as we need to touch base with someone on the police review board around Mayor Renner requesting that they schedule a forum so that we aren't conflicting with anything they may have on the calendar coming up soon. Commissioner Jai, what time frame were you potentially thinking about if there was a forum, a second forum?
Where are we now? At the beginning of September? I'd like to see sometime in late October, early November, to give us time to do all the planning and outreach and so on.
Okay. Okay. I have my questions answered. Does anyone else have any questions or thoughts before we move on? Okay, we will go to agenda item number 5, vetting process for verification of 51% ownership.
Yes, we had talked about our draft proposal for contractor compliance for individuals who want to work on city-funded construction projects, the requirement to have a certain percentage of the dollar amount of the contract go to female or minority subcontractors, and also a certain percentage of the dollar amount going to female and minority workers who participate on this job. There was a question on the table about how would we verify if a company was indeed 51% minority owned, disability owned, or female owned. After doing some scouting around and asking questions with similarly sized cities as Bloomington, I found out that there really isn't anyone using a verification process that provides any sort of documentation that says this person or this company or this entity is indeed 51% minority or female owned. There is, at the state level, some sort of verification document that they give you. We can accept that if a company wants to register in the contractor compliance program. But in terms of having them prove to us that they are 51% minority or contractor owned, we would need an entire department to vet the documentation, actually do site visits out to these places to verify whether or not what they presented on paper is correct. And I'm not saying that this is something that shouldn't be done. I just think I know for a fact it's going to be a lot for a one-person department. So that is why a lot of the other cities have opted to simply accept their word for it, unless someone called in and reported that it wasn't true and prompted an investigation. So that's how they've been handling it up to this point.
So, Mr. Hurt, when you said they could get a document from the state, what is that document? What does that look like?
Yes, if they have done work for the state had the resources to do the investigation and to review all the documentation and background information. So the state had vetted that these companies indeed are who they presented themselves to be in terms of the 51% ownership.
Okay, so not all of the companies or businesses would have that document.
That's
would have
correct.
been vetted by the state, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. These would be only individuals who had actually registered in the state's compliance system.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question on the topic. Would it be an option to consider requiring those that want to be part of that program to obtain one of the national available minority certifications? So it would be basically up to them to obtain that certification, but it doesn't have any responsibility on us locally. It's just basically they will have to go through the process of applying to obtain that national certification for minority businesses or contractors.
I could check into that. I'm not sure exactly what that designation is or what the cost of it is. But if it isn't something that's cost prohibitive and it is something that is accepted nationally, yeah, I agree. They should at least have that particular proof of the 51% ownership. So I'll look into that to see what is that process
Yeah,
and any cost involved.
Yeah, there's 2 links on the minority business directory that goes to that certification. So you could actually go there and then just click those links and check out what's involved with that for them.
Is this our directory?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hurd,
So-
I've done some research on this particular topic. Sorry, Chair Smith. There's the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council that provides such certification. It's $450 up front and $400 a year to renew. The state's program, I haven't done a lot of digging into that, but it doesn't look like, I know that the recertification is free and the certification lasts for 7 years, but how much the initial certification is, I am not sure. So those are 2 avenues to perhaps look into further.
Commissioner Jai, what was the first one you mentioned about the 450 and then 400 annually?
Sure, it's the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night.
And they are part of the national MSDC. So this is one that is countrywide.
Okay. So I think we have some options there, right, Mr. Hurt,
Mhm.
for you to follow. Okay, thank you. Interesting too that there's really no way to verify, to vet that 51%, that for the most part, everyone is just taking their word unless there's a call made to investigate, to confirm or deny that they are really at that 51%. Trust and believe, huh?
Yeah, man, I understand the process would be, cumbersome as far as submitting the documents, reviewing those documents, and then of course we'd have to involve legal to make sure that we're looking at what we're supposed to be looking at. So if you have all those resources available, like at the state and national level, most definitely that's something to be done.
Yeah,
However, at our level, generally
be
this is overseen by
overwhelming.
one person. Yeah.
A bit taxing.
But yeah, these are good resources to find out if the certification process can be handled by these individuals at the state and national level, and create a document that we could accept as far as verification of ownership. That would be great.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks for that information, Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Ajay, and for the information you provided, Mr. Hurt. We're going to get there soon.
Very soon.
Okay. If nothing else on that topic, we will go to item number 6 on the new business, review of the draft selection criteria for MLK Adult and Youth Awards.
And that document should have been included with the agenda that I mailed to everyone.
Yes.
And the purpose of the document was we talked about having a better way in terms of selecting the individuals for these awards, to actually have some, I guess, some numbers to substantiate it other than just anecdotal evidence or what the nominator included on the form. So hopefully, doing it this way, we can actually apply some numbers to it and make the process a lot less subjective.
Mm-hmm. So the impact, yeah. Mm-hmm. Thoughts, commissioners, on the suggested updates to the nomination form?
I think it's an excellent document. I'm not surprised at all, given its author. The only comment I'll make, I agree totally with the objectivity that this brings to the selection process. I have no problem with any of the suggestions. I would just request that in the final paragraph under notice to winners, that we make the first sentence gender neutral. So the winner of the award should be reminded that while the news of their selection may be shared rather than his/her.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think it's extremely well done.
I think it reads extremely well. It's very concise and succinct. So great job. Thoughts from the other commissioners? Tony, I know you were involved, so I'm reaching out to Commissioner McGinnis and Konam.
Yeah, this is Konam. Michael, can you resend me that email because I don't think I'm able to locate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
It looks fine as far as I can see.
Okay. All righty. And Mr. Hurd, you captured the there and to replace the his and her, right? Or
Yes. Mm-hmm.
okay.
Gender neutral pronoun.
Yeah. What's the pronoun you prefer? Okay, so we will go on to item B under new business. Review of the proposed format for the 2021 MLK virtual event. Commissioner Konam, do you have that item?
Sorry, I don't think I still received it.
I'm sorry, what was that? You don't think?
Is this the email related to the MLK? I don't think I have seen that.
It's the one where it had the agenda and everything else in it?
Yes, like 4 attachments.
Yeah, I don't see that. Yeah, with 4 attachments, definitely a no.
Okay. I was just wanting to check before we started to open the conversation up around this so that you would be in sync with us. Was it just, did someone just send it to her? Okay, we will go ahead and talk about the program. Mr. Hurt, did you want to leave that discussion?
I'll lead it by saying this. Please understand, I am not wedded to this format. I tried to capture a few things that we talked about in terms of if we can't do it, have a live venue, then what will we do in terms of making it interesting virtually? So please understand, I am not wedded to anything on this page. Totally open to whatever the commissioners decide we should do for this event.
Okay, just a draft, just to get the conversation started. Gotcha. So the MC would be a local news personality. And with the participants being encouraged to order delivery or takeout from a local Black-owned or minority-owned restaurant. So as they are home, they're supporting local Black-owned or minority-owned restaurants. I like that idea, that suggestion. For those who have this program, any thoughts, suggestions?
I attempted to share my screen. Is that working?
I see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yep, this helps. Thank you.
I was wondering if if we should put a hard number on those live stream statements. I see you say no more than 5 minutes for each one. So do we say, we're going to have 6, so we have a half an hour? Or we actively go out to find those 6 individuals? So we have that locked down, and maybe a 7th one in reserve, just in case somebody backs out at the last minute.
So, Mr. Hurt, when you said 5 minutes, were you thinking total of 5 minutes, or were you saying each person had up to 5 minutes?
Yeah, no
Help
more
me.
than 5 minutes.
Total?
No, for each individual.
I'm like, total? Okay, gotcha. I'm like,
Let's move
whoa.
this along, why don't we?
Yeah, speed talking. I'm like, are you expecting them to speed talk? Okay. So Commissioner Jai, did you say 6 with the 7th in reserve in case someone had something arise at the last minute? So 30 minutes total for that section?
That was just my recommendation. If we were doing 6 minutes, we could do 3 minutes and have 10 people, or, but I think we do need
Okay.
to keep it, because you know how folks can be once they get to talking.
Yeah, give them a platform, right? Okay, so I'm wondering if we determine the amount of time that we want to dedicate to this, and then kind of divide it up to arrive at the number of people. I'm thinking, I kind of like the 3 minute.
Yeah, typically 3 minutes for things like this, because people by nature are going to take 5 if you tell them 3.
Also being it is virtual, so yeah, keeping it shorter maybe in the best interest, so that people will have that interest, and when things keep moving.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. The pre-recorded song. So the town of Normal has agreed that they will do their award winners, correct? Mr. Hurd?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you're waiting for me.
Yes,
Uh,
they have committed to
Yeah, the email
participate.
that their chair copied us on, that's what it sounds like.
Okay,
And again, in
Just-
terms of anything on this list, like the entertainment, the Heritage Ensemble, we can have anyone in there. Also, we had mentioned too, local speakers or somebody like Jamal Green in that half-hour space if we decide we want to go that route.
oh, yeah, okay. What was that, Commissioner Jai
That was
Did you-
Commissioner Ajay's suggestion.
suggested
Green.
him? Do you
Mhm.
know him on a personal level?
Jamal has spoken to the McLean County Democrats in the past. I
Mhm.
have met him. I do know him. I won't say that we're anything more than acquaintances. I do have connections to be able to get in touch with him again if necessary.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have a strong preference one way or the other to have someone like Jamal Green or to have various people from the community espouse Dr. King's principles?
For me, one of the
Okay.
advantages of having a speaker is the opportunity to be in that speaker's presence and get their vibe, if you know what I mean. And if we are still going to be quarantined at the point of this event, then
Mhm.
I don't think we should expend the funds to bring a speaker. And I think we could find
People in the
some
community?
worthy endeavor within town to put that money towards.
Okay. Thoughts from other commissioners? Commissioners McGinnis, Jones, and Conam?
I agree with Ajay's thoughts.
Yeah, and the thought I had was to take the approach of trying to secure a speaker, and if that doesn't work out, use the auto approach as a back pocket.
To secure a speaker for the
And-
virtual?
Yeah, the individual that Kai had recommended for the virtual.
Commissioner McGinnis?
I feel it's a good idea to get a local speaker if we could, and save the resources for some other items.
Yeah, and this was an individual I was assuming that wouldn't have a cost, or if not, just but that I don't know. So that's kind of it's part of my thinking.
Okay. But the overall goal is to not expend funds for the speaker or whomever is going to fill that slot. Am I off base or on target with that?
On target, I think.
On target, yeah.
That was yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Does that help, Mr. Hurd?
Just to clarify, the consensus is not to bring in a speaker, but to stick with the local people speaking?
Yes.
Yes.
We could go with Jamal, but we don't know what his fee is. So I think Commissioner Jones was saying he was on the assumption that Mr. Green would not charge an exorbitant, I'm using the word exorbitant, that he would not charge a fee that would impact our funding like that. Was that correct, Mr.
I know
Commissioner
that.
Jones?
Correct.
Is it Jones?
Commissioner
I
Jai?
didn't hear his response. I know he charged the Democrats, so
Okay,
unless Mr.
He will-
Jones has a personal relationship with them and can negotiate a low or no fee, then, you know, other than that, I have no knowledge of what his fee schedule looks like.
so then he would likely charge us too. Okay, so then, do you know him, Commissioner Jones?
I do not.
Okay. So then, Mr. Hurt, that's our answer. We would go with getting people from within the community or a local speaker.
Okay. I would ask that the commissioners, sometime
vote.
in the next week or so, send me recommendations through the email.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's make this official. Can I get a motion on this item so that we have it documented that we are going to go with people from within the community for the statements, be it either a speaker or multiple speakers that will espouse principles of Dr. King?
So moved.
I second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on that topic? If not, hear none, I will call for the vote. Commissioner Conam,
Aye.
Commissioner McGinnis,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
I
Commissioner Jai,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, aye. We have consensus on that. The speaker or speakers will be local with low or no cost to the HRC's budget. And it is also to be known that even though we have Peoria's Heritage Ensemble pre-recorded, 2 songs that we have the option to replace them with other choirs or chorus music if the commission desires, and those suggestions can be sent to Mr. Hurt, as well as the suggestions for the local speaker or speakers.
Yes.
So we should do that immediately. Thanks for sketching out the foundation of this virtual program for us, Mr. Hurt.
You're welcome. It's all in a day's work.
Sure. Okay. Our next scheduled meeting is October 14th, 2020.
Point of order, Madam Chair, there's still one more agenda item.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Required sexual harassment prevention training for the commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Jai. Look right over that. Went straight to the bolded item. Required sexual harassment prevention training for commissioners.
Actually, the conversation at City Hall was that it would be required for all personnel, councilmen included. We have a program here at City Hall, and all I would do is send you the link. You would go and review the link, click on it that you viewed it, submitted it, and that's pretty much the end of the training that we're doing right now.
Oh,
So
really?
it's a simple process, but it's very informative.
Oh, great. When would you send that to us, Mr. Hurt?
I wanted to let you know what was happening before I sent it, so I'll probably send it out to you tomorrow.
Okay, great. And is there an expectation of when it has to be completed by?
Probably within 30 days.
Okay. So we can look for that within 24 hours or so.
Mhm.
Okay. This is new, right? I don't recall this last year.
Yeah, it is new. It is a state mandate for municipalities. Started January 1st, 2020. So we're just conforming with what the governor and I think it's the Illinois Department of Human Rights has set forth for municipalities and other local governmental entities for 2020.
Okay. We'll be on the lookout for that to get that completed and submitted.
Mhm.
Now, item number 7. October 14th is our next meeting. We'll go around the room virtually. Anything to share, Commissioner McGinnis, that we did not touch on during the meeting?
No,
Commissioner Kunam,
Nope.
Commissioner Jones,
No,
Commissioner Jai.
At the risk of disappointing you,
Are you going to say no?
I'm going to say no.
Oh, okay. I don't have anything additional to share. Just thank you all for sharing your time with us in tonight's commissioners meeting. Mr. Hurt, anything additional from you?
No, just remember to send me your recommendations and expect tomorrow or later on this evening the sexual harassment training link.
Okay. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move that we conclude tonight's meeting.
Okay. Is there a second from anyone?
second.
Thank you. The meeting has been properly moved by Commissioner Jones and seconded by Commissioner McGinnis. Is there any additional discussion on that?
Well, I was wondering if whether we should actually adjourn or if we should discuss for a few more minutes before. I'm just kidding. I have no additional comment.
Well, I heard some discussion, but I'm going to say hearing no discussion, the meeting is adjourned for tonight.
Thank you all.
At 6:09.
6:09. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the balance of your evening.